In a mountain temple outside Nara, monks have been selling eye drops since the final years of the Edo period. That's over 150 years of the same product, pressed from the bark of a tree whose name literally translates to eye medicine tree. One old legend claims a blind priest washed his eyes with the sap and saw the mountains clearly again. That sounds like folklore you'd tell a child. However, modern Japan is also the only country where a 10-minute break from your screen every hour isn't a suggestion. It's written into labor law. Start at that temple, because the story is stranger than the marketing. It's called Tsubosaka Dera, 6th stop on a pilgrimage route of 33 Kannon temples strung across western Japan. Pilgrims have climbed to it for centuries, past a cliffside statue of the Buddha overlooking the valley, and somewhere along the way, the temple started selling a licensed eye medicine made from Acer nicoens, a maple that grows almost nowhere outside the Japanese mountains. Boil down its bark and you get a grayish astringent liquid, just an eye wash, nothing fancy. The tree's name, Megusuri no Ki, just means eye medicine tree. No branding department invented that. Someone centuries ago noticed the liquid seemed to calm red, tired eyes, and the name stuck hard enough to outlive whoever coined it. Today, the temple still sells the drops as a licensed pharmaceutical, alongside candy dusted with powder from the same bark for pilgrims who want the folk version in their pocket. Here's the part worth sitting with before you dismiss it as superstition. The bark contains tannins with real anti-inflammatory and astringent properties, the same basic mechanism behind a cold compress reducing swelling. Nobody serious claims a maple tree reverses nearsightedness? Not a chance. But an astringent wash calming inflamed, irritated eyes is not a stretch of chemistry. It's a plausible folk remedy that got lucky long before anyone understood why. Japanese pharmacies still sell Megusuri no Ki as a supplement today, usually blended with blueberry extract and lutein, marketed at exactly the people you'd expect, office workers who stare at monitors for a living, 40 generations removed from the pilgrims but chasing the exact same relief, which is the actual modern problem, and is a much bigger one than a single temple can solve. Japan built its post-war economy around desks, screens, and famously long working hours, and its own government noticed the damage early. In 2002, Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare issued formal guidelines for anyone working at what the paperwork calls a visual display terminal, the old catch-all term for computer monitors. The guideline called for a 10-minute break for every hour of screen work, proper monitor brightness, reduced glare, correct viewing angle, and posture checks built into the workday. Here's the detail that matters. In most countries, these numbers exist only as suggestion on a wellness poster nobody reads. In Japan, it's enforced, full stop. The reason the government stepped in is that the survey data was ugly, really ugly. Studies of VDT workers found close to 60% reporting eye pain and strain, with roughly a third also reporting stiffness and pain across the shoulders and neck. Dry eye showed up constantly, tied directly to how long people stare at a screen without blinking properly. Your blink rate drops by more than half when you're concentrating on a monitor, and each shallow, incomplete blink leaves less tear film spread across the surface of the eye. Multiply that across an 8 or 10 hour workday, and you get exactly the burning, gritty feeling. Anyone who has stared at a spreadsheet since sunrise recognizes immediately, the kind that no amount of squinting or rubbing actually fixes. So Japanese researchers, when looking for a fix that costs nothing and require no new hardware. One of the more interesting ones grew out of studies on what's called the blind working method, closing your eyes deliberately during the small dead moments already scattered through a workday, waiting for a page to load, thinking through what to type next, switching between two screens. Researchers timed how much of an average shift actually contains these micro gaps, and it turned out to be substantial. Several minutes an hour sitting there unused while the eyes stay locked open and drying out. Workers who close their eyes during those exact gaps, instead of staring blankly at nothing with the same dry stare, show measurable improvement in dry eye symptoms and reported fatigue within a matter of weeks. The fix wasn't a product, just permission. Permission to use seconds that were already being wasted. You've probably already heard the more famous version of this idea, the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. It didn't originate in Japan. An American optometrist named Jeffrey Anschel proposed it back in the 1990s. But Japanese occupational health researchers picked it up fast and ran their own trials, confirming it worked. The mechanism is simple. Staring at a screen up close forces a tiny muscle inside your eye, the ciliary muscle, into a sustained, unrelenting contraction to hold your focus locked at that one fixed distance. Look far away, and that muscle finally gets to relax. As simple as that. It's less a cure and more a stretch, the eye equivalent of standing up after 2 hours hunch at a desk. Here's what the 20-20-20 rule does not fix. And it matters because half the advice floating online treats it like a miracle cure. It does nothing for your blink rate or your tear film, which is exactly why dry eye still creeps in even for people who follow it religiously. It does nothing about screen brightness, glare, or the light your monitor throws directly at your retina for 10 hours a day. That's a separate problem, and it's why Japanese eye clinics keep pairing the 20-minute rule with something older and warmer. Warm compresses show up everywhere in daily Japanese life already, most obviously in the hot, damp oshibori towel handed to you at the start of a meal. The same warmth applied over closed eyelids for a few minutes does something specific and measurable. It melts and loosens the oil produced by tiny glands along your eyelid margin, the ones responsible for the oily layer that keeps your tears from evaporating in the first place. When those glands get clogged from staring wide-eyed at a screen for hours without blinking fully, your tear film breaks down faster and dry eye gets worse no matter how many times you blink. A warm towel over closed eyes for 5 or 10 minutes, followed by a gentle massage along the lid, is a low-tech fix ophthalmologists actually recommend, not a spa indulgence dressed up as medicine. Shiatsu practitioners add another layer, pressing gently on specific points around the eye socket, along the brow bone, and just beneath the lower rim, as part of a broader practice built around the idea that steady, gentle pressure on the right points relieves tension and improves local circulation. The eye muscles genuinely do tighten under sustained near work, the same way your shoulders tighten at a desk, and gentle massage around never on. The eyeball itself can ease that tension in a way that's closer to a shoulder rub than a mystical cure. Nobody is claiming acupressure improves your prescription. It doesn't. What it does, credibly, is relax the muscles around a strained eye, the same way any massage relaxes a strained muscle anywhere else on your body. Light itself is the other half of the equation, and it's easy to miss because nobody think of lighting as a health habit. Traditional Japanese homes use paper shoji screens specifically to soften direct sunlight into something even and diffuse, cutting glare instead of blocking it outright. Modern Japanese office design borrows the same instinct in a more clinical form. Workplace lighting guidance calls for indirect, glare-reduced illumination and a manageable brightness ratio between your screen and the room around it. A bright monitor glowing against a dark room forces your pupils to constantly readjust. That constant readjustment is its own quiet source of fatigue. It's the same reason staring at your phone in bed in a dark room feels harsher on your eyes than the identical screen in a lit room. The contrast, not the brightness alone, is doing the damage. Sleep closes the loop, and it's the habit people skip first when they're busy. Your eyes recover overnight the same way the rest of your body does, rebuilding tear film and letting the ciliary muscle fully release after a day spent locked at reading distance. Cut that sleep short, especially by scrolling a bright phone screen right up until the moment you close your eyes and you're asking a tired, dry, understimulated eye to start the next screen-heavy day without ever actually resetting. None of the temple drops or the warm towels fix that, not if the sleep itself never happens. It's the one habit on this list that costs nothing, requires no tree bark or supplement aisle, and still gets skipped constantly because it's the least dramatic fix on the whole list. Now for what's actually on Japanese plates, because diet is where this stops being folk wisdom and start overlapping with real nutritional science. Blueberries and lutein show up constantly in Japanese eye supplements, and it's not a random pairing dreamed up by a marketing department. Lutein is a pigment your retina genuinely uses, concentrated in the macula, where your sharpest central vision lives. Your body can't manufacture it. None at all. You get it entirely from food, dark leafy greens, corn, egg yolks, and yes, berries. Green tea contributes its own angle, loaded with catechins that function as antioxidants, and Japan drinks more of it per capita than almost anywhere on earth. Then there's the fish. Always the fish. A diet built around fatty fish delivers DHA, an omega-3 fat that makes up a meaningful share of the fatty acids inside your retina itself. None of this rebuilds a nearsighted eyeball overnight. What it does is feed the tissue that's already doing the seeing, the same way eating protein doesn't grow you a new bicep. It just gives the one you already have what it needs to keep working properly. Now for the part that actually moves the needle on whether kids need glasses at all, and it has nothing to do with supplements or eye drops or warm towels. Japanese ophthalmologists have been tracking a genuine myopia problem for years, especially among school children whose eyesight is worsening earlier and faster than a generation ago, sometimes showing up as early as 7 or 8 years old. The research keeps landing on the same two culprits, distance and daylight, close-up reading under 30 centimeters, sustained for long stretches without breaks, and a shortage of time spent outdoors. 2 hours outside, that's the number. It keeps showing up in the research as protective, not because sunlight has some magic property, but because looking at distant objects in bright, natural light appears to slow the elongation of the eyeball that drives nearsightedness in growing children. Japanese schools have leaned into this hard, building outdoor time and screen limits directly into how myopia prevention gets taught, alongside newer clinical tools like low-dose atropine drops and specially fitted contact lenses for kids whose myopia is already progressing fast despite everything else. Put the whole picture together and it stops looking mystical. It starts looking almost boring, which is usually the sign a health claim is actually true. A 400-year-old temple selling an astringent tree bark wash for tired eyes. A national labor law forcing office workers to look away from their monitors on a fixed schedule. A hot towel over closed lids, the same one used at dinner, repurposed for a different kind of relief. A snack bill around lutein and DHA instead of sugar. And for kids especially, a push to get outside instead of staying hunched over a book or a phone 8 inches from their face. None of it promises to erase a prescription you've had for 20 years. What it does, consistently, is reduce the daily strain that makes existing vision feel worse than it has to. And in children, it appears to slow down how quickly nearsightedness develops in the first place. If you want the version you can actually use starting today, it's shorter than you'd think. 4 habits. That's it. Every 20 minutes, look at something across the room for 20 seconds. During the small dead gaps already scattered through your day, the page loading, the phone ringing, close your eyes instead of leaving them locked open and drying out. Once a day, warm a damp towel and hold it over closed eyes for 5 minutes before bed. Eat something with lutein in it, whether that's spinach or a handful of blueberries. And if you've got kids, get them outside for something close to 2 hours, because that single habit shows up again and again as the one that actually changes whether they end up needing a stronger prescription next year. None of this replaces an actual eye exam, and if your vision has genuinely changed, that belongs in a conversation with an optometrist, not a supplement aisle. But it does raise a real question worth sitting with. How much of what we call bad eyesight is actually just accumulated neglect? The blinks we skip, the breaks we didn't take, stack up over 10 years of staring at the same 6 inches of glowing screen. A temple in Nara has been selling the same tree bark for 4 centuries because tired eyes have always needed something. The tools just got better. The only real question left is whether you'll actually use them or close this video and go straight back to staring at the next screen for another 3 hours without blinking.